Dear students, welcome to the very last module on web application development using Python. This module will teach you how to create web applications using Python, and it covers all the basics to start writing your own applications. This module requires you to have a little knowledge on HTML and CSS, and already you are familiar with the basics of Python. But don't worry, if you are not an expert on these topics yet, Python supports many frameworks for building web applications. They include Flask, CherryPy, Pyramid, Django and Web2Py. These frameworks have been used in most popular sites such as Spotify, Mozilla, Reddit, the Washington Post and Yelp. In this module, we are going to use Flask framework. Flask is a web micro framework for Python which allows us to create and deploy simple web applications very easily. The installation of Flask is very simple. Just use pip command. To install, go to command prompt and surf to the directory where you have installed Python and type the command as pip install Flask. When we type this command in the command line, we are downloading the Flask framework from its online repositories, and when we import Flask, we are making the framework available in our current script and we can use its features easily there. Once Flask is successfully installed, you can write applications. As a first web application, let us display Hello Python learners on a web browser. Let us do step by step. First of all, we need to import the Flask class from the Flask module. So, all the functionality we need becomes available. So, you need to type from Flask import Flask. Here note down the F should be capital. Flask with lowercase f is the framework here, while Flask uppercase f with is a Python class data type. Once the class is imported, we will create an instance of Flask class for our web application. The first parameter of the constructor should be the name of the module of our application, that is, give us app is equivalent to Flask of underscore name underscore. As we have only one module, we can use underscore name underscore, which is a global variable that holds the current module's name as a string. Then next we define a function that returns the string hello Python learners, and this function is mapped to the home, that is /URL. This is called a root. A root is basically a decorator that allows us to specify an URL associated with each Python function. When that URL is requested, the corresponding function gets executed. This means that when the user gives the address localhost :5000 on the browser, the function will run and show its output on the web page. Suppose the input to the root function is something else, let us say /home, then the function output would be shown when the user browses to localhost :5000 /home. Right now, we have only one function. So, there is one root. To run application, we just call the run method on the Flask object we just now have instantiated. Shall we test our first web application? As I said earlier, import the Flask class from the Flask module. So, all the functionality we need becomes available. Next, use name, which is a global variable that holds the current module's name as a string and stores in Flask object, that is in app. Then we give root, which allows us to specify an URL associated with each Python function. Here we give us slash, that is basic root. Next, we define the function hello that will handle the HTTP request on that URL and return its output on the web page. To run application, we just call the run method on the Flask object we just now have instantiated. Save the script as web1.py or any other name. Shall we run to see the output? Don't run from Python shell. Go to command prompt and move to the folder where you have stored your script and give us python web1.py. Then go to your browser and type http://localhost:5000 to see the output. It sounds easy? Good. We have a website with some content returned and displayed by a Python function. As you can imagine, returning just strings from a function does not make a real web application. If you want to make more than this and more visually appealing, you have to incorporate HTML files along your Python file and have your Python code return HTML pages instead of plain strings. You will do just it now. So, we are going return HTML pages through your Python script. For this, Flask object provides render template method. Now, let us create a simple HTML file that displays a few texts in different sizes. I hope you know that HTML is a hypertext markup language used to render web pages. Please remember a few things while creating HTML pages. The HTML document itself always begins with HTML and ends with /HTML. The visible part of the HTML document is between body and /body. An optional header part may be given. Please refer to some online materials for HTML tags. The HTML document always begins with HTML and ends with /HTML. The visible part of the HTML document is between body and /body. So, place your contents inside the body tag. Here we have added 3 head tags H1, H2 and H3. Each renders the output in different size. To store this HTML, create a folder called templates under the folder where you have your Python scripts and store the file in that folder. Then, let us create a Python script that renders this HTML page. As we have done for our first script, here too we do the similar things. One difference is that here we invoke the render template method to call the HTML file to display the output. Then, as I said earlier, execute the script in command prompt and go to the browser to check the result. What we did is we imported the render template method from the Flask framework and then we passed an HTML file to that method. The method will generate a Ninja 2 template object out of that HTML and return it to the browser when the user browses the localhost. So, typing localhost:5000 on the browser should display the web page as we have shown. Great. Let us expand our website even further. In both of the previous examples, we just add only one page, but a website has several web pages. So, let us also add one more page to our earlier example. This newly added page says about interests. This is the first web page and stored as home.html. Then this is the second web page and stored as about.html. Let us now create a Python script that invokes these two HTML pages. We do usual things, but we have defined one more Python function called about that renders about.html, our second web page. Let us run and see the output. Running the Python script should output the same results as before when opening the two URLs. Cool. But there is something missing that you have probably started to notice, and that is the website navigation menu. Let us add one in the next lecture. Did you notice how we navigated through the two web pages? We have typed the URLs to browse through them. Is it correct way of doing? Of course not. We have to browse from one page to any other page using links. That is, what we have to use is the website navigation feature. So, let us add that in our previous example. Now, let us create 3 HTML pages. To start with, we create a main page from where we move to first and second pages of the website. Similarly, we may navigate between any web pages. Let us now see the code for this navigation. To start with, we create a main.html wherein we have two links that take us to first and second pages of our website. To do so, we need to place anchor tag in the web page. href attribute tells the page where we want to land on. Then we add the link that has to appear on the page so that it lets us to click. Next, we will move on to first page of our website. Here too, we add anchor tags that take us either to the main page or second page of our site. Then, we repeat the same in the second page of our website. Store all these 3 pages under templates folder as we did earlier. Now, let us move on to Python script. In the Python script, we have to use 3 functions having 3 different routes. One is to main page, /first to our first, and /second to second pages respectively. The other stuffs are as usual. Let us now run and see the output. Go to command prompt and move to the folder where we stored the Python script and execute as we did earlier. Go to the browser and check the result. When we click on the my first page, the browser takes you to the first page, and check the other links too. In the HTML codes, you would have noticed a function URL for. The URL for function is used for dynamically building a URL for a specific function. Without URL for, if there is a change in the URL of our application, then you have to change it in every page where the link is present. That is, URL for in Flask is used for creating a URL to prevent the overhead of having to change URLs throughout an application, including in templates. Before winding up, let us consider one significant HTML example which almost every site will have is the authentication or login page. So, we will do that. We have to do adding a route to handle request to the login URL and adding a template for the login page. Watch the console for this example. The login page has two fields, namely username and password. We use form tag to place these two fields. The method attribute says how we pass the values from the form to the Python script. There are two choices, namely post and get. Here we use post method. Then we add three input tags, each for username, password and submit. For further understanding, refer any online materials for HTML tags. One important thing to be noticed here is the if error part. This is to return the error message from the Python script upon wrong credentials so that user can retry again. Now, let us move on to Python script. Apart from the usual things, note additional modules imported. Also note that app.root method. The URL is /login to be given for browsing. Then note methods attribute. As I said earlier, there are two choices, namely post and get. Here we use post method. Now we define login method. Then error1 variable is initially set to none. The variable carries the error message to be passed to the web page upon wrong credentials. If the method is post, then we receive the username and password that are passed from the HTML form using request.form and check whether the username is user1 and password is Python. If so, we load the main.html page. Otherwise, we assign wrong credentials, try again to error1 and render the same login page with wrong credentials. Try again so that we can retry. Now, as usual, run and see the result. What do you think? Simple, right? Don't get too excited. We still have much more to do. But as this is an introductory course, let us wind up with this. Video 5 end. Let us see an example how HTML pages communicate among themselves using Python script. What we are going to do is, in one HTML page, we get the name and marks, pass them to script, and from the script we will pass to another HTML page and display it. Shall we try that? First, we create a HTML page wherein we add 4 text boxes to get name and marks in 3 subjects. Then we add a submit button. Upon clicking the button, the form values will be sent to the Python script. Store this as marks.html. Now go to Python IDLE. In the Python script, first do usual steps. Here you can notice 2 root functions. One to retrieve the data from the HTML just we have created, that is from marks.html. Then we have another function with root as /result. In this function, we use post method to retrieve the values from the marks.html using request.form. Then these values are sent to result.html using render.template method. Now design another HTML page which will receive the values sent by the Python script. In this HTML, we use table tag to display the marks in the form of table. We use dictionary object to receive the values from the Python script as key value pair. Here the dictionary name is result passed from the Python script. Then we display the keys and values. Now let us check the output. After running the Python script as usual, go to the browser and type http://localhost:5000. Now enter the name and marks in 3 subjects and click submit. Once you submit, the values will go to the Python script and returned from it and displayed in result.html. What do you think? Simple, right? Don't get too excited. We still have much more to do. But as this is an introductory course, let us wind up with this. To summarize, we started with installation of Flask, an environment for web support on Python. Then we wrote a simple example to display hello web page. Gradually we improvised our website by adding pages and navigation. Finally, we also saw how to create a form and submit the values and handle them. So, deploying a web application with Flask is really simple. I suggest you to refer a few online resources for further details. Right. Hope you enjoyed this module on web application development using Python. Dear learners, we have come to the end of course on problem solving aspects and Python programming. We all from this team convey our hearty thanks to all for the patience throughout this course. We are supremely confident that by now you can apply problem solving techniques and make use of algorithmic principles to analyze problems and design solutions. Use Python programming language as a pro to implement, test and debug solutions. Apply high level techniques of function decomposition for breaking larger tasks into smaller, simpler ones and implement in Python. Develop sophisticated real-time applications using advanced features like event-driven programming, GUI, web databases and client-server programming. We hope you enjoyed learning the course as much as we enjoyed delivering it. Thank you once again for being a part of this course. Till we meet on some other occasion, Godspeed and goodbye.